Hi everyone, this week sees the release of the first Star Wars spin-off solo movie, Rogue One. And I gotta be honest with you, I don't know if I care. Listen, we all watched Star Wars when we were kids with awe. We had incredible spaceships, cool characters with an interesting mythology, and lightsabers. What little kid wasn't in love with the idea of lightsabers? But since then, the series hasn't really introduced anything new to that equation. It's always been kind of the same mythology with the same lightsabers. Don't get me wrong, they tried to switch up the formula a little bit with the prequels, but we all know how well those were received. And as kind of like counter-programming to that, the recent run of Star Wars movies backed by Disney have all doubled down on the classic Star Wars stuff. You've got TIE fighters, you've got AT-ATs, you've got stormtroopers, you've got Death Stars. So many damn Death Stars. Even Rogue One is all about the building of the first Death Star and trying to stop that from happening. Gee, I wonder how that's gonna work out. We keep being promised this vast galaxy a long time ago, far, far away, but it seems like all the stories take place in the same 60-year time span. Star Wars has laid the foundation for an infinite amount of interesting stories, so why do we always seem to get the same thing? I mean, the original expanded universe novels and comics did a really interesting job of exploring all the corners of that galaxy, and I've heard really good things about the Star Wars animated series, although I've only seen a few episodes here or there, mainly the ones that revolve around Darth Maul, and this one that had this weird Force planet where the sides of the Force were all personified, which I actually thought was really cool and interesting. And while we're talking about the animated series, I love the original Star Wars animated Clone Wars series created by Genndy Tartakovsky. That show was dope. Give me more of that, Star Wars, some of that crazy stylized action. Anyway, I'm totally getting off track. Here's the problem with continuing to revisit that classic trilogy is that it's not very deep. It's a lot of fun, it's very energetic, and it has some cool ideas, but the characters aren't really that complex, and it's not going to give you any deep revelations about the human condition. Say what you will about Star Trek, but since that series had its inception on TV, it had a lot more time to really dive into each of its characters to create unique, fully fleshed out personalities that developed in interesting ways, which Star Wars really hasn't had the time or the desire to do. So while I know Alden Ehrenreich is going to do an amazing job in the Han Solo movie, it's still going to look like a kid in Han Solo cosplay, and I doubt it's going to give us anything deep, new, or interesting about that character. And as much as I love the idea of a space western, which is what they're labeling that movie as, part of what made Star Wars so special is the collision of so many different genres into one movie. You had space opera, you had war movie, you had western, you had samurai flick, and instead of future Star Wars movies pulling from a well of different genres to create new interesting things, they just keep pulling from Star Wars. So it's a remix of a remix. And like a Xerox, every new copy is a little duller than the last, in my opinion. So what do I want? I'd like to see them really run with this galaxy far, far away. Go into the far past, like the Knights of the Old Republic games, and really dive into the old cultures that built to the movies we've seen today. Or, on the other hand, go into the far future. Instead of having old Luke and Leia running around, do what the Star Wars Legacy comics did, and flash forward 100 years in the future when everybody's dead, and see what their legacy really looks like. And again, that's where that combination of genres come in. You could combine a classic space opera with something post-apocalyptic like Mad Max. Hell, if you wanted to keep it in the current timeline, do a movie with an alien protagonist on the other side of the galaxy that has never heard the name Skywalker. Have a movie focused on a droid, something that feels like WALL-E. That would be amazing. Or my personal favorite, do a movie that revolves around the dark side, how that works within the galaxy, and how somebody could be seduced by its power, which I guess maybe was supposed to be the story of the prequels, but whatever. I don't know. You have a whole galaxy to explore. Let it feel like it's one with limitless potential again. And who knows, maybe Rogue One will blow my mind. If you want to know my full thoughts on that movie, tune into next Monday's Only Stupid Answers, where me and my special guest, Star Wars superfan Maude Garrett, break it down. You can find that on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Audioboom, and many more platforms. This is going to be my last video for the year. I want to thank you guys for joining me every week as I discuss my favorite things in pop culture. Please, in the comments down below, let me know what kind of topics you'd like me to cover in the future in 2017. If you're not, because there will be new episodes of my Only Stupid Answers podcast every Monday, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all for joining me this year. I hope you all have happy holidays and an amazing new year.